Welcome to the Insurance News Net training webinar. This is your host, Seth Green. We're here to talk about how to finally get the referrals you deserve from CPAs and attorneys. If that is what you're looking for, you are in the right place, and we're going to go ahead and get started in just 2 minutes. While we wait for everybody to get on, if you want to go ahead and in the chat box, type in your name and where you are joining us from. That would be awesome. This is Seth Green. I am joining you here from Buffalo, fabulous, snowy Buffalo, New York today. I'm always in Buffalo. I'm usually always joining you from Buffalo, New York. Enjoying the fabulous snow here. We've got about 1.5 feet. So gotta love those of you who live in warm places. I just haven't figured out how to pull that off yet. Given that my wife and both her family and my family are from here, I think we're sort of stuck here at the moment. All right. Hey, Phil from Indianapolis, Illinois. All right. Us, a fellow Northerner. All right. We are going to go ahead and dive right in. So we are here to talk about how to finally get the referrals you deserve from CPAs and attorneys, especially when you think about the fact that we are in the midst of tax season right now as we're recording this. And I know there are a lot of systems out there in the industry that purport to teach you ways to get referrals from CPAs and attorneys. You know, I've bought most of them. I mean, there's marketing systems that are supposed to get you in the door. There's services where you pay for an appointment where they're supposed to be meeting with CPAs and attorneys that are supposedly interested in sending you referrals. And I don't know if you've tried any of those. I've got a storage unit full of all the stuff I tried that didn't work. So this is not any of those things. This will get you to build actual relationships with CPAs and attorneys so they actually refer you business on a regular basis. And I know that sounds too good to be true because when I started in the industry, it sounded great to me too. And it took me years and years and years of trial and error to finally figure this out. And I'm happy to be, when Insurance News Net said, why don't you share it with our folks? I said I would be happy to. So I promise I will show you the exact system that I'm using, that I use in my practice, the exact system that we're using to help advisors all over the country get the exact same results. So who am I? Why should you listen to me? In case you haven't read, in case you don't know, I am a 6-time best-selling author. I've written 6 books. I have been featured in the Wall Street Journal, CBS Money Watch, CNN, NBC. Just recently written about an Inc. magazine. It's actual media coverage as opposed to just some paid press release. And I've been fortunate enough to be the only person in history who's been nominated by my marketing mentor, Dan Kennedy, the smiley happy guy to the right, 3 years in a row for his Marketer of the Year award. I'm the only person who's been nominated 3 years in a row. So that is very, very gratifying considering where I started. When I started out I went to Syracuse University for undergrad. I was an Orangeman. And my original undergraduate degree was in acting. Yes, I was going at 18. My life goal was to be a Broadway star. And obviously you see how that worked out. And the reason it worked out the way it did is because my senior year, 2 of my friends and I decided we were going to be producers. We were going to produce a show called The Mystery of Edwin Drood by Charles Dickens that you've never heard of. It's an interactive murder mystery musical. And we formed a student organization and we prepared a budget. And we went to the student government and got them to give us all the money. And we were off to the races and I was a producer and it was really cool. Until it wasn't, because 6 weeks from opening night, I got a phone call from the Student Government Association saying we need to talk. And I don't know about you, Ray, but if you've ever gotten a we need to talk phone call, you know it's never good news. Your girlfriend or wife never says we need to talk, I love you. It's we need to talk, I think we should be friends. Your boss never says we need to talk, we're raising your payout, or we're giving you an assistant, another admin, right? It's always we're cutting your payout. So it was no different. They said it turns out they had the bylaws of Syracuse University prevented a first-year student organization from getting that much money, and they needed half of our budget back. And I said, well, we're 6 weeks from opening night. You can't have it back. And they said, oh, no, you don't understand. We're not asking you. We're telling you. We've already impounded the funds from your student bank account. We just wanted you to know so that you didn't freak out and think you got robbed. Well, I felt like I got robbed anyway. So my friends and I tried to figure out how to produce the show on half the budget, which we couldn't do. And we could have closed the show, or we could do something else. And this is, if you remember the movie Top Gun with Tom Cruise that they're making a remake of now, this is the admiral who, the guy who told Tom Cruise, son, your ego's writing checks your body can't cash. And that's what I did. I said, guys, I got this great idea. I have all these pre-approved credit card applications sitting on my, dining room table in my apartment. Why don't I just fill them out? We'll fudge the numbers a little bit, and I will we'll charge the show. He said, well, that's great, but how are we going to pay it back? And I said, easy. We'll just sell tickets. And they said, what if we don't sell all the tickets? And I said, well, then you guys will get credit cards and we'll split it 3 ways, whatever's left. And they said, okay, sounds like a good deal. So we did it, but I knew nothing about marketing back then. And I had no way we didn't sell enough tickets. I had no way to pay the money back. And my friends left me holding the bag. They refused to get credit cards, said their parents wouldn't let them. And I was stuck with all the money. I had no way to pay it back. And I had to go Chapter 7. I had to go bankrupt, and it really sucked. And I decided that because I had just borrowed a whole bunch of money to gamble on something I knew nothing about and lost, that a good career path would be to become a financial advisor. That makes sense, right? Right, Barbara? That's what you would do. So I went to work for a Fortune 500 company, financial services company. And the day I got back from training, my branch manager reaches under his desk, says, I got you a book where all of your clients are going to come from your entire career. And I said, great, I'm going to go buy a Ferrari. This is great. I'm, 20 something years old. I'm young and dumb. This will be fabulous. Except he handed me the phone book, literally, and said, they're all in there, Tiger, go get them. And I didn't know any better, so that's what I did. I made 300 cold calls a day, every day, for years, interrupting strangers, asking them for money. I'm sure some of you, Charlotte, might be able to relate to that, right? Until I learned a better way, because in my spare time, I am a professional magician. I was reading a course, magazine for magicians, where there was a full-page ad for a marketing course. I got my parents to buy me the course for my birthday because I didn't have any money. I implemented the course, and I became the busiest, highest-paid magician in Buffalo in less than 30 days. And I said, holy cow, this stuff works. So I called the guy. I used my critique certificate, the guy who sold me the course, Dave D. And I said, would this work in my real job as a financial planner? He said, yes. I said, where'd you learn it? He said, guy by the name of Dan Kennedy. I went to talk to Dan, and Dan said, you're doing everything wrong. You shouldn't be cold calling. You shouldn't be mass mailing seminar invitations. Write me this really big check and I'll change your life. His pitch was better than that, but I am obviously making it much shorter so we can get to why you're here today, so I can start teaching you. So I went home to my wife and I said, honey, obviously some time had passed between when I started as a financial planner and this happened. So I went home and I said, honey, I know that 12 months ago we got married. 9 months ago, we bought our first house. 3 months ago, we had our first baby. And 3 weeks ago, you quit your job to become a stay-at-home mom, leaving me, sole breadwinner, making 300 cold calls a day. But I need to go borrow a whole bunch of money to hire this guy, Dan, to change our lives. And she said, no. And I came back the next day, asked the same thing. She said no again. And we repeated this pattern for 30 days until day 31, when she said, you better pray this works. So, boy, did it ever. Dan quadrupled my production in the first 2 years of working with him. He took me from the 6,699th rep at my Fortune 500 firm that I worked for to the top 30 in the country in 2 years. He got me written about in 3 best-selling and marketing books for financial advisors and Registered Rep, the industry's top trade journal. And things took off. And I said, what do I do now, Dan? And he said, you start a marketing company and you do this for other people. So I did 8 years ago. And that is Market Domination LLC, the company that we are talking about today. And I'm going to share with you what I came up with that works really well. And along the way, I wrote 5 books: Real Estate Marketing Magic, Financial Advisor Marketing Magic, Online Marketing Magic, Cutting Edge Marketing Magic, The Facebook Ninja, and Podcast Marketing Magic. So let's talk about building solid relationships with CPAs and attorneys that get you actual regular referrals. Because your referral sources are your freedom. I speak at industry conferences all the time. And I always ask the audience, quick show of hands, where does the majority of your business come from? And the majority of people say word of mouth and referrals. And I'll say, okay, how many referrals are you going to get next month? And they all have a deer in the headlights look. Right, Ed? They just don't know. I'm like, I don't know, whatever comes in. So you can't deposit whatever comes into the bank account. But if you knew that you were going to get, let's say, 12 referrals every single month on average, that is something that's a whole lot. That's a system. That's something that's consistent. That's something that's reliable. And then you don't have to worry about, where's my next client going to come from? Where's my next meeting going to come from? How am I going to pay my assistant, pay rent, hit my production goals, make chairman's club, whatever it is you're trying to do. So we talked about what doesn't work. We talked about the whole, paying for appointments, or we talked about, trying to buy the CPAs and attorneys lunch and tell them about what you do because you have a client who's their client. I tried that too. It doesn't work. You just get fatter and spend more money. So what does work is if you make marketing you something they have to do in their own best interest. I'm going to show you how to do that. You write a book. Don't worry, you're not going to write it. Just stay with me. So this is, for example, Estate Planning Experts Atlanta. In the book would be estate planning attorneys. There would be CPAs. There would be there are nursing home directors, all in Atlanta, who've been interviewed by my client. And then when the book is published, who do you think says, do you want, if you're a CPA and you got written about in a book, and are you going to not tell anybody? Of course not. You're going to shout it from the rooftops because you were picked to be in a book. You'll say, give me 200 copies. I want to send it to all my clients because I'm fabulous. I'm in a book and they'll love me more. And hey, I'm in a book. They can hand this to their friends and tell them to come see me. So if the CPA sends 300 copies of the book out to his clients, your picture's on the cover, you're the author of the book, and it's written, and there's multiple chapters about you in the book, who do you think those people are going to call when they're looking for a second opinion on their insurance or their investments? They're going to call you because their CPA just handed them a book and basically endorsed you without having to endorse you. So it is a backdoor way of getting the CPAs and attorneys to promote you because they're promoting themselves. They're just taking you along for the ride because you wrote the book that they're in. Does that make sense? John, are you getting this? Are you seeing how this totally changes a relationship? Because you're not going in saying, give me referrals. You're not going in saying, I want to serve your clients. You're going in, they're actually chasing you saying, I want to be in your book. I want to be written about in your book. And you're saying, we'll see if, I'm going to interviewing a bunch. We'll see who I include. So they're chasing you and telling you why they should be in the book because they want the PR opportunity of the exposure of being in a book that you happen to control. So this is, for example, our client, John Cito, who is a certified divorce financial analyst up in New Jersey. And he had tried everything to get in with the New Jersey divorce lawyer, the marquee New Jersey divorce lawyers, with no luck. He even sent flowers. He even tried sending flowers and fruit baskets to get in the door, which wasted a lot of money and didn't get him anywhere. But now, because he's interviewing, he took it further. I was just suggesting he interviewed divorce lawyers, but he interviewed marriage counselors. We got him marriage counselors to interview. We even got him realtors who specialize in divorce relocation. I didn't even know there was such a thing. So these are all people who serve the divorce market, and they're all buying copies of the book to hand out to their clients and prospects, which puts all of them in front of my client, John Cito, and all the business comes back to them. And the beauty is their clients, they're always getting new clients, just like we are, right? So if you're a divorce attorney, you don't handle 10 divorces and then you're done. You get new divorce clients every single month, which means you need more books to hand out to them to show them why you're fabulous. You might be doing seminars too. You might be doing mailings too, and you're going to want to tell people about the book, which means there's a constant flow of new prospects in everyone's offices who are in the book, all coming back to you. Does that make sense? Are your wheels starting to spin, Joe, about how that could totally work? It doesn't matter what niche you're in. I've showed you estate planning. I've showed you divorce. You could do others. It's just a question of who has your client as their client, what type of attorney, what type of CPA, what type of nursing home, for example, that we could put in a book, that we could interview, so that you build a relationship on the start with the interview. Then you show them the chapter about them. Then you get together and go over the book. You've now met with them 3 times, which is 3 more than you met with them before. And it's all about you're adding value to them because you're putting them in this book as opposed to you chasing them. I mentioned my wife and kids earlier. We now have 3 kids. That is my wife, Rebecca. Those are my kids, Max, Ella, and Lily. Max is 9, Ella is 7, Lily is 3. A bigger reason why I do this, I can't fit them all on this slide, but these are third world entrepreneurs I have loaned money, made microloans to through kiva.org to help them start or grow their businesses to get out of poverty. Because I think business owners are the ones who are going to save the world economy, not any government. And I've had the good fortune to work with over 750 of them because we donate a percentage of our proceeds to Kiva. Not saying you have to do that. I'm just telling you that's my personal passion project. So what are the steps to a successful book? And you want to write these down. 1, you need a concept and a name. We just walked through, we talked about what you could do estate planning. You could do divorce. You could do, I mean, it's limited to your imagination, basically. You need interview questions because you're a reporter when you're doing an interview. So you want to follow a relatively structured interview script. We have a psychologically proven format that gets the most out of every interview, that because we've done hundreds of them, that get the guests to like the interview the most, to so that they want to promote the book the most, and that lay the groundwork for a successful book. And obviously you need interview subjects, you need guests, whether those are the lawyers or the CPAs or nursing homes or whoever else. Who knows? They could be doctors. They could be OBGYNs, and you could be or dentists. It doesn't matter. But obviously you need interview subjects for the book. How you record that interview, you could buy a voice recorder at Staples or Office Depot for $20. If you want, that is totally fine. If you want better audio quality, you will get the free call recorder app on your iPhone, which I will show you in a second, to record the interview, and then you can do it over the phone. That's the App Store. You type in call recorder. This is what it looks like. It's pretty simple to use. It's free. You just have to buy credits, which are airtime, however many minutes you're going to use. Like in the old days when you paid phone calls by the minute. Don't worry, it's not much money. I mean, you might spend $5 or $10 a month in interviews. It's really not much. You just hit the buy credits button and you pay for them right through the App Store. And then you hit this red button, this giant red button to record the interview. It will ask you will hit the add contact button to pick a person that you're interviewing. And then you merge the call and then you're recording. And that's the interview. When you're done and you hang up, it will then say, you have a new call recording available. What do you want to do with it? And you say, email it to Seth and his team to take care of it for me. And then you're going to wash, rinse, and repeat. Along the way, how you turn all this into a book is you're going to transcribe or type each interview. So somebody listens to it and types out every word that was said and then edits it, and that's a chapter. Now, obviously, we can do that for you, or you can do it yourself. But you do want more than just the interviews in the book. You also want like an introduction, a few chapters about you, what you do, who you serve, why you're different. Because again, we want the book, and the call to action of the book is going to be, of the whole book, is obviously going to be to contact you for a consultation or come to a seminar so that you get the business. And then you've obviously got to do the graphic design, layout, and publishing of the book, all of which we can, of course, handle for you if you want. And then you print them, and then you've got to get copies into the hands of everyone who was in the book. And we would suggest you give them 2, because that subtly plants a seed. What are they going to do with the second one? They're going to hand it out to somebody, and then they're going to realize, oh, I need way more than one. I need to buy a bunch of these. And the letter that goes with the book to them then says, here's how to get more copies of it, which they buy at cost. You don't want to make any money. We don't make any money selling books. We want to keep them as cheap as possible so that you buy your interview subjects, buy as many copies as possible, because that will get it in front of as many prospects for you as possible. And then that turns into referrals. And that's basically how it works. The secret sauce, obviously, the secret sauce is our multi-step, multimedia marketing campaign that gets the CPAs and attorneys to participate, to raise their hand and say, yes, I'd like to be in this book. I want to talk to you. Please interview me. Here's why you should interview me. And then they're sort of chasing you, which is a really nice change of pace from us chasing them, right? And then we also write a direct mail campaign that goes out from the CPA to their clients. We'll write it in their voice for them. We've got pre-written ones that go out saying, hey, look, here's a copy of a book I was written about in. I put a Post-it note on my chapter. Here's what, let me tell you a little bit about this book and why I'm so happy to be in it, blah, 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 and gets the person, the end user client of the CPA, to read the book. And then if they're looking for a second opinion, to call you. Now, normally, if you had asked a CPA, go mail out 200 business cards of mine to your clients, they'd throw you out of their office, right? But because they're in the book, they're promoting themselves. So they do it. They don't look at it as promoting you anymore. They're doing it for themselves, and you just happen to be going along for the ride, which is why it works. What do all those direct marketing campaigns cost? Well, if you hire Dan Kennedy to write them for you, he'd charge you $100,000 right now, plus royalties in perpetuity. Luckily, don't worry about that. You're not going to have to pay that. I was approached by a financial advisor last month who had hired a copywriter to write a 3-step direct mail campaign for $6,000. The only problem was the campaign didn't work. It didn't get any results. So we rewrote it for $3,000, which was cheaper than what they had originally paid, and they were happy because we're getting them something that works better. Don't worry, you won't have to pay $6,000, you won't have to pay $3,000, you won't have to pay anything. I'm just going to give it to you. We will give it to you for free when we do this for you. So I am hoping that we're inspiring you to be our next success story, whether you do it on your own or if you want us to help you. Either way, we have advisors who just get inspired and go out and do this and get results. And I love hearing from them. And then, of course, there's folks who have us do all the work for them, because then all you have to do is show up, do the interview, and be fabulous, and the rest is all done for you. So what I want you to think about is, what is a client worth to you? You know, what are your first year commissions or fees, Randy? What are your average renewals or trails every year that they stay with you? And how many referrals on average do they give you? Because if you add that up, I'm willing to bet you it's a significant amount of money. I mean, unless you're a property and casualty insurance agent, you might make less per client. But if you're an insurance agent or a financial advisor, you're probably getting $1,000 to $5,000 to $10,000, again, depending on the client. That could just be first year, not counting lifetime. Like if they're paying you, if they have 100,000 with you and you're getting 1.5% assets under management and you don't do any insurance for them or annuities or anything else, that's $1,500. But if they're with you for 20 years, that's $30,000. So what's it worth to get a client? I mean, that's a significant chunk of money, right? So if you didn't have to invest, and obviously you don't spend $30,000 to get them in the door. So it's our business, we're lucky in that there can be a significant return on your investment, obviously, in any marketing dollars. So, I mean, if all it did for you was get you in front of your dream referral sources and prospects, is it worth doing? Absolutely, right? If all it does is get your book done without you having to write it, and now you're a published author, your book will be on Amazon, your book will be on Kindle, and you'll have physical copies, that's worth it, right? You're now a published author. How many financial advisors or insurance agents in your area can say that? Probably not too many. So it's a significant differentiating factor because you literally wrote the book. And if all it does is get you new clients, is it worth doing? Absolutely. So if you want us to do it for you, we will do the research to find the guests for you, the right CPAs, and we'll talk to you about which type of CPAs and attorneys and which type of people would be right for the book. We'll send that proven multi-step marketing campaign you saw to get them to want to be in the book. We'll write the interview questions for you according to our proven format. Then after you do the interview, we'll edit the audio. We'll transcribe and edit every episode. Then when you've got enough, we'll do the graphic design, layout, and publishing of your book. We'll publish to Amazon, we'll publish to CreateSpace, and we'll market it as well. In addition, we'll provide the marketing materials to go to your guests to get them to buy copies of the book and send it out, and we'll provide the campaign that they send to their clients, customers, or patients, all driving a ton of business your way, all done for you, and it's only $9.97 a month. So very, very affordable. And in 4 months at the most, you'll have a book. You'll have new referrals from CPAs and attorneys and relationships with them that are based on something where you added value first, where they are grateful to you and you did them a favor and they are thrilled to do it in return. And if you keep going after the book is done, you'll get an avalanche of new business, because what we do after the book comes out, if you stick with us, is we will do a book launch party where everybody in the book comes and brings clients and guests, and you'll do a big book signing like a real author would do. We also do facilitate a monthly book mastermind group where everybody in the book gets together every single month and passes business back and forth. And each month, one person speaks about what they're doing and what cases they're working on, and everybody passes business back and forth. So you'll see these people every single month passing business back and forth, which is how you start knowing this is how many referrals I'm going to get every month. It works incredibly well. We will also give you a month free virtual assistant services from our friends over at 123 Employee, one of our partner companies. And you can use that virtual assistant to do anything you need, whether it's doing investment research, doing market research, Excel research, building spreadsheets, making phone calls, social media, sending emails, following up with prospects. They work really, really well, and we'll give you a month free. Also, I teach a cutting-edge marketing mastermind group myself every month, where I teach our latest marketing strategies for 2 to 3 hours every single month. It's not just our book program, it's everything we do in our marketing firm for our clients that's working for advisors all over the country. So that group is normally $2,364. We will give you a year's worth for free, so that you will be getting the latest marketing that's working every single month. If you want us to do it for you, all of the details are available at ultimatemarketingmagician.com/INN book. But I know that many of you have been to webinars or training sessions or conferences like this before. You may have even taken great notes, but then you don't do anything. The phone rings, a client has a question, somebody shows up in your office, and maybe you get it started and then it gets stopped. And instead of having a bridge from where you are now to the production level you want to get to, you end up with like 15 half-built bridges of ideas that get started a little bit, implement a little bit, but not finished. So you got a whole bunch of half-built bridges that go nowhere. I don't want that to happen here. It's too important. So let's pretend you're on one side. Your pot of gold, your production level, is on the opposite side. And in between you is a giant valley. And what do you need to get there? You need a finished bridge that goes from one side to the other. So I don't want you to get distracted or find a new shiny object, or have a bunch of half-built bridges that go nowhere. There are literally 73 bridges that you could be building to get you from where you are to where you want to be. I don't know if this program is the right one for you, if one of those other 73 is right for you, but I do have a 73-point double your production checklist, which if you're not ready to start on this program, I will happily walk you through for free, and we'll see if you may already know that this is right for you, or you may have questions. If you've got questions, I will give you a strategy session for 20 minutes for free. We'll walk through the checklist. We'll check off what you're already doing. We'll find out what your opportunity score is and what you're missing. And then we'll talk about what order you should do those in. Whether or not that's with us, it's okay. I just want to make sure that you know what you should be doing. And if you do it somewhere else, I'm okay with that. There's no obligation for the strategy session, but at least you'll know what will get you from point A to point B. It might be our book marketing system. It might not. If you've got questions, go to ultimatemarketingmagician.com/strategy session and sign up for a strategy session. Again, there's free. There's no pressure. I won't try and sell you anything. If you love this idea and you want to get started with this, it's ultimatemarketingmagician.com/INN book. I am going to take a breath. I am going to take a drink and open it up for questions. Type them in the chat box, please. Okay, questions. You said in 4 months maximum. What does that mean? Okay, so on average, it's going to take a couple of weeks to do the research and get the marketing campaign out the door. And then on average, we'll get you an interview every single week. And it takes, depending on how long your interviews go, somewhere between 12 to 20 interviews to make a book, long enough to be like a real bookstore book. So it will take, we found on average, we ask for a 4-month commitment to make sure that you get the book done. We don't want you quitting, 2 steps before the finish line. What about compliance? How are you getting this through compliance? Great question. It's probably the most common question. Compliance, we have not had a single broker dealer or insurance company not approve it. And the reason why is they can approve the questions in advance. They can approve the transcript of every interview, and they can approve the manuscript of the book. It's static. It's fixed content. It doesn't change. And you can also, they can approve the letter that you send that goes with the book to get CPAs and attorneys to buy more copies of it. So everything can be approved by your compliance department. We have not had a single one veto it. Again, we've had them edit it, but we haven't had anybody say you can't do it. How long does the average interview take? Between 15 to 30 minutes. It depends on how good an interviewer you are. You'll get better as you do more. And it depends on how chatty your CPA or attorney is. Obviously, the longer they talk, the better, because then it's a longer interview and takes up more room in the book. Doesn't interviewing people exclude others? You are banking on the ones you choose and exclude the ones you don't. Correct. Pascal, you're absolutely right. So what we've had happen is after the first book comes out, sometimes our response, we have too many people who want to be in the book, and you don't want a 400-page book. No one's going to read the whole thing. So what happens is sometimes we have advisors who come out with a second edition of the book with other CPAs and attorneys in it. So they keep doing more interviews, we keep doing more marketing, or they'll come up with another idea for another book, another niche they want to go after. Edward, what is the average page size of a book? Great question. So these are real books. This isn't an ebook, although we do also publish a Kindle version. It is a real book, 150, 250 pages, depending on how many interviews you do and how chatty they are. We've had books that were 150 pages. We had one today that was 222 pages. It just depends on how many. But again, this is not a 12-page report. I mean, it's a real book. Can I get a hard cover? Is it soft cover or hard cover? You can have it either way, because the cost of the books is not included in the $1,000 a month. So your books are extra. Again, we don't make any money on the books. So the average cost of a soft cover book in our program, the more you buy, the cheaper they get, but you're looking at like $3 or $4 a book. I mean, if you wanted to buy like 500 or something, I mean, we could get the price down a lot more. But if you were buying, let's say 50 at a time, it's $4 or $5 a book, soft cover, color, glossy, front and back cover, and then the book, all the pages are black and white. If you want color inside, not sure why you would, unless you had a lot of pictures, it would cost a little bit more. If you wanted hardcover, you can pay for that. It will just cost you more. Where can you see a real book? We have Amazon. I can show you copies. If you, I can give you a list, their website. I will, you know what? I will email out links to where you can see books. I mean, you'll be looking at it online as opposed to physically in your hands, but not a problem. You know what? Here, I wonder if it'll let me pull one up. Hang on. Hang on. Hi, everybody. You know what? I could show you one. On a camera. Ha. Here's a book. There you go, Pascali. I did it. I figured out how that switches to the camera. So this is a book, a real book. I mean, got lots of good stuff in there. Ta-da! There's a book. Once a book is written, who holds the legal copyrights? You do. It is all your intellectual property. It is not ours. You own everything. We just will print them for you. And again, we don't make any money. You can use our printing company. We don't make any money printing books. That's really cool. I forgot I had a camera on. Here's some other books while we're sitting around here waiting. This is another one. Hers, lots of pictures. Let's see. Here's another one I wrote. One of my 5, my 6. Real book. I got a bunch of them. I'm trying to look around and we got lots and lots of books. Other questions? You have to move very slowly on camera. I'm sorry. You could tell I do not get asked that question. I've never switched over to the camera to show a book before. No one. We've been doing these webinars for Insurance News Net and some other financial trade journals for like 5 or 6 months in a row, and nobody's ever asked to see one live. I'm sorry. Isn't the interview material going to be very repetitious? Randy, good question. To a certain extent, everyone is different and everyone is the same. So they follow the same format in terms of the types of questions you're going to ask. However, every attorney's, they're going to answer them different ways. So the questions about like, where'd you go to, how'd you get started? Why did you become an estate planning attorney? What inspired you? I mean, those stories are all different. Everybody's got a different story. And you'd be surprised if you get 10 economists in a room and ask them what the economy is going to do. They all have 10 different answers. That was one of the things that surprised me when I started, because I figured, what do you think, when I started years ago, what do you think is going to happen with the estate tax back before the $5 million exemption was raised to $5 million? Everybody had a different opinion. I thought everybody would agree. I mean, if everybody agrees that if the markets are rational, we're all out of jobs, right? So it's not, I mean, I get what you're saying, but everybody's got a different answer and a different story. And the end user clients may not read every chapter. I mean, they may read their accountant's chapter and they may read yours. They may not read. I mean, we've never had a problem with that. Nobody's ever called us and are called a CPA or the financial advisor and complained saying, you asked similar questions in the interview. Bill, how many of these books are out there already, and are other financial advisors who have used the system available to speak with? Yes, they are. That's one issue. That's a good question and one issue. So you wouldn't want 10 different advisors in the same town doing this because it wouldn't work. It would sort of, I mean, depending on the city, like you could have enough. I mean, you're in Manhattan, you could probably have 10 advisors, and there's enough accountants and attorneys hypothetically to go around in a 5-block radius. It wouldn't matter. But we do have a program where we do try and protect the geographic territories of our advisors. So if it turns out that you're in a small town and we've got someone there already, we won't let you overlap. We'll cancel you. We'll refund your money right away. And yes, you can certainly talk to other advisors using this. We've got them in various stages. We've got folks who are brand new. We've got folks who are doing interviews. We've got folks books are out. We have people now in other industries that are doing this. Not just financial services, because it works. They wouldn't necessarily interview CPAs and attorneys. But like, for example, I have a woman who is an expert on hiring and firing. And she's interviewing HR directors and CEOs of companies and getting their hiring and firing nightmare stories, and then using that as her way in the door to talk about, hey, how I can help you avoid that. It's funny, I have 2 of my 6 books are interview books. Cutting Edge Marketing Magic is an interview book where I interviewed 15 of the top marketers in the world, in the country. And all of their stories were different. So I asked same questions because they were all marketing people. And I asked the same questions in every interview, and the interviews were all different. and yours are going to change up. And then Podcast Marketing Magic, my newest book, is an interview book where I interview podcasters about how they grow to millions of audience, millions of downloads, millions of subscribers, and all of their stories were different. So even if you ask the exact same questions, you're going to go off on tangents. It's going to inspire other questions. They're not exactly identical. Pasquale, your mother, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. Your monthly fee covers everything except the printing of the actual books. Correct. Yes. And you're not going to be printing books until the book is done. But yes, covers everything. Marketing to get the interviews, producing the audio, transcribing, editing, graphic design, layout, publishing. Yes, literally everything. The only other expense, okay, you're going to pay for, if you're using the call recorder app, you might pay iTunes $10 a month and $5 a month in airtime. I don't make any money off that. If you're using a voice recorder like this one from Office Depot for $20, you never run out of airtime. You just have to change the batteries. Monthly fee was $9.97, Samantha. Here, I'm going to put the 2 URLs in the chat box. This is where you go to get everything to sign up. And if you want to talk more and do a strategy session and go through our checklist, this is the strategy session link. How do CPAs and attorneys feel when they discover they are 1 of 6 or even 1 out of 10 being interviewed in their space? We haven't had any issues. I mean, I guess they could say, hey, how come you got others? And the answer would be because nobody can have a monopoly on good ideas. You serve different clients. You're going to have a different story. We've never had anybody have any issues with that. With regard to your monthly fee, once the book is completed, published, what will you require the fee? And if so, I can't see the rest, Edward. It's not letting me see the whole question. Edit. Okay, so you have a choice. So when the book is done, at month 4, when the book is done and out, you can stop. We'll always print your books for you. We'll always get more for you. No problem. At our cost, we won't make any money off of that. If you keep going, we do the book launch party, the book mastermind group every month. So we're facilitating that every month. And then we will continue getting you more interviews with other CPAs and attorneys in your niches, or you can do another book. It's totally up to you. There's no commitment after that. You can keep going or you can stop. Does that answer your question, Edward? It looks like you had ... So I couldn't see. I don't know if there was more after that. Now, it is one other thing I want to address. It's February 18th when we're recording this. So it's tax season. So what we're finding right now is a lot of the CPAs are saying, half the CPAs are saying, we're too busy, call us in April. You know, we'll get back to you in April. Can we do the book in April? And the other half are saying, I'll make time for this. It's important. So you may start the majority of your interview, if you started today, the majority of your interviews would probably be with attorneys, nursing homes, other professionals, other people than accountants. The accountants would probably come later after tax time. Edward says, great answer. Yes. Okay. Answered your question. Good. Wow. Great answer. Thanks. I'm glad you liked my answer. Can you call my wife and tell her? Just kidding. How old are you? I'm 38. Actually, no, I turn 39 next month. March 23rd is my birthday. Thanks. I don't know why that's relevant. How long have I been in the business? Wow. 17 years. I am now independent. I went independent 8 years ago with Next Financial. We clear through Pershing. The Fortune 500 company was AG Edwards, which doesn't exist anymore because it got bought up by Wachovia, and then they got bought up by Wells Fargo. I left when we got bought out by, I went independent the year we got bought out by Wachovia. No, you don't really have to call my wife. Thank you, though. My wife is fabulous. I'm good there. Thanks. How many interviews are in each book? Again, it depends on how chatty they are. 10 to 20. It just depends. I mean, it's funny because it all depends. So I've had interviews I've done for my own books where I ask how did you get started question, and I get 2 sentences. And then I asked another guy, literally the same day, I did a couple interviews in the same day, and I said, how are you, how'd you get started? And he literally took half an hour. Like, he told me the whole life story. Like, I could have put the phone down, walked away, come back half an hour. He wouldn't have noticed. So his interview was a whole lot longer. I mean, we edited it, but it just depends. You mentioned Rob, you mentioned Manhattan. Have any insurance people used in NYC? NYC is big enough. I have 2 advisors in New York, right in Manhattan now, but they aren't doing CPAs and attorneys. They're using this to go after CEOs. So they are going after CEOs of large companies and writing a book. So that's not a referral book. So that's a different type of book. So they're like, it'd be like a chicken soup for the CEO's soul type of thing. And they're interviewing CEOs of large companies to get in the door and talk about like 401ks and stuff. You can't go in and talk about that in an interview because then they're like, hey, I thought this was an interview, not a marketing gimmick. So you have to go in, do the interview, do the book, and then later you could transition to trying to get a client relationship with the actual interview guest. You just can't do it right away, or it looks shady. So my 2 guys in New York City are doing CEOs. They're not doing CPAs and attorneys. So that's still wide open. And Manhattan's got to be big enough. I mean, there's tens of thousands. Taking into consideration one book from start to finish, what would be my total investment? Okay, so you're going to pay, let's say it's 4 months, you're going to pay $4,000. You're going to walk away with a book that's done, and then you're going to buy copies. So how many copies you buy is up to you. I have no control over that. I would tell you to start, buy at least 2 copies for everybody in the book. So maybe that's 40 books. Send them 2, so they hand out 1 and go, I need more. And then I would buy, if it were me, I would buy copies for all my clients and send it to them saying, hey, I wrote a book. Hell, if you had the money, I would buy 2 copies for every client and say, give 1 away. There's a referral right there. Because it's much easier to hand somebody a book than it is to say, hey, how's your money doing? You should talk to my guy. You could buy them for your prospects. You could give them away at seminars, but your expense with us is a total of $4,000. And then that's the book, and the book is done. So other expenses are airtime, which might be $40, $50 if you're using call recorder, and printing books. What is the advantage of using the iPhone app for recording? I can record calls off my phone system in your office. Then you don't need it. Then you're good. If you can record from your phone in your office, you're fine. Some people can't, depending on if they're independent or wirehouse, or if they don't, if they just have a phone that doesn't do that. Then you don't need the app. I don't care how you record it. People just always ask, how do I record it on every webinar I've ever done? So I put that in there so that I answered that question before they asked. But you do not need call recorder if you can record it another way. It doesn't matter. I don't get paid for recommending the call recorder app. Do I set the price of the book for sale? Yes, you do. So when we publish on Amazon and Kindle, you pick the price. And although Amazon has certain minimums for physical books in terms of what you can charge, like they won't let you, other than a special promotion, give it away. You can give away Kindle books all day long, well, for 5 days at a time. But that's getting ahead of ourselves. You set the price of the book, and if you want to physically sell copies, like as opposed to Amazon, where they mail the book to the person, and it's print on demand, if you wanted to have a price on the back cover of your book and have it say $14.95 and sell them to people at $14.95, you can do that all you want. And you buy them from us for $4 and you sell them for $14 and you want to keep the $10 a book, go for it. I don't get a piece of that. I don't want any of it. More money to you. It is all up to you, your intellectual property. You set the price of the book. Speaking of which, we have a client's book that is free on Kindle today. Right now, that is absolutely amazing. If you go to Amazon.com and search $4 sandwich, FOUR, spelled out, $4 sandwich. It should be by Dr. Corey Melnikoff. It is free on Kindle. I would highly recommend it. It is his inspirational true story of how he went from literally having his debit card declined for a $4 sandwich, hence the title, to owning 10 multi-million-dollar chiropractic practices. And he's now up to like 14. We do marketing for him. So the book is free on Kindle today and tomorrow. I would go grab it. And you can see it's an example. Any other questions? Okay. Looks like everybody. Again, ultimatemarketingmagician.com/INN book if you want to see the terms and sign up, or if you want a strategy session to talk some more first, ultimatemarketingmagician.com/strategy-session. Repeat name of book, $4 sandwich. $4 sandwich. And it's free. You can download it on Kindle right now. Literally have it on your phone or your Kindle or your iPad or your computer in minutes, and you can check out a book. There, hey, you wanted to see a physical book other than on camera? Well, it'll be on Kindle. It's not physical, but you can see it. For inventory tax purposes, are the books barcoded, and who keeps records? It does have an ISBN number on it, like it's a real book. For inventory, for tax purposes, geez, I don't, inventory. If you say buy me 25 copies and we ship you 25 copies, I don't know what inventory you would have. Who keeps records? Oh, if they're sold, if they're sold on Amazon or Kindle, it'll be under your Amazon account. So Amazon will report to you and to the IRS, if that's what you're asking. It's not under us. It's under your own account. Can you make final edits? Yeah, you get to make so we'll edit it and get it to each interview along the way. And then the final manuscript, yeah, you have final editorial approval. I would want you to. And then depending on what your compliance situation is, you may have to submit to compliance to get it approved, or you may not. If you're an RIA, maybe it doesn't matter. When you tell the CPA attorney they will be 1 of 10 or 20 in the book, do they take less of an interest in being in there or giving them out because their competition is in there also? We've never had a problem. We're not, we also in the marketing campaign aren't saying, hey, want to be in a book of 10 or 20 other people. I mean, we're not trying to trick them or anything, but we've never had, I mean, we send them their transcript to approve and say, hey, this is edited. Is this how you wanted to say things? Is there anything you want to change? And then we send them a manuscript of the book before we publish. And we've never had anybody come back and go, give us a problem. You gotta, I mean, you gotta think about it. Like, how often does your regular local CPA get a phone call, get to be in a book, get real PR? They don't. So we've never had everybody is usually really, really grateful. We've never had anybody go, oh, this sucks. There's other people in here. I don't want to do it. We would just replace them if that happened. I mean, I'll tell you, I don't think this is necessarily going to make me look good. But I'll tell you a story. The one I did, the first book I did, the first financial planning book, I was making a presentation to a local a large construction union on their pension plan. And it was every year they had to shop it out, whatever the union rules were. So they had financial advisor day where they interviewed like 7 advisors and then either stuck with their current people or switched. And I was the last one. And so I walk into the room when it's my turn, the conference room when it's my turn, and there were literally a line of business like Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, Dean, Smith Barney, line of business cards on the table. And so I knew, okay, I'm the last one to pitch. Everybody else had already pitched. And so I'm like, I got nothing to lose. I knew some of the names from the cards. I was like, oh, I know that guy. He's been in the business like 30 years. So I took up all the business cards. I'm not telling you to do this, but I took them all and I chucked them in the garbage. And I said, you don't need these anymore. And I dropped my book on the table, and I had paid it was hardcover. I dropped it on the table. And I said, that's the only one you need. And then I made my presentation. And I got a phone call the next day going, that they decided, a day or two later, saying, we decided to go with you. We're going to move, the first couple $1 million and let you see how you do with it. And the guy said, I got to tell you, you sold me when you chucked the other business cards on the table and dropped the book. The book, went thud and and those guys just had pieces of paper on their business card. But I got to tell you, you pissed off 2 of the guys in the room because they thought you were arrogant. But we said, he wrote the book, so how do we not go with him? I'm not telling you should throw out other people's business cards. I was less humble then. But it worked. Because again, it's the ultimate business card. I mean, would you rather, here, look, would you rather have one of these? Or would you rather have this? I mean, thud factor. All right, that wasn't a big thud because it's not a hardcover book. But, I mean, you're the guy who wrote the book. or the girl who wrote the book. Okay. My wife is texting me. I need to come home and save her from the kids. Okay. All right. Well, I greatly appreciate your time. Hopefully we will talk to you soon. Again, ultimatemarketingmagician.com/INN book or ultimatemarketingmagician.com/strategy-session. Hope you've learned a lot. Hope you got something out of this. Hope we get to work with you. If not, tell me your success story anyway. I'd love to hear it. And thanks so much for being here.